Okay. Working on the checklist today. Here is the current checklist. This block feels like too big. Can be split. I've used the rect flashcard tool. That's one. I created at least one GitHub issue. That's a different one. So there's two. Oh, and passed at least one quiz. So this can be split into three right here. This is obsolete because LinkedIn skill certifications no longer exist. Bummer, bummer. So one thing I could do is just comment this, but ideally the job search candidate would have a replacement so that they can get those skill keywords on their resume. And this is a checklist that's supposed to help you learn to code and get a programming job. So just for a little background, this is latterly.io. Latterly is open source. Here's the GitHub at the bottom. You can sign up for free. It's kind of freemium, more features starting at $1 a month. And we're working on the standard checklist, which is the free one. So want to improve this, want to improve this. And then this can be split into 4. So it's saying I have a portfolio that includes 4 projects. We can split that into 4 different items. And I think that's pretty much what we want to do is break out these items to a little finer grain so that people can demonstrate progress. I see a lot of people getting stuck right here, basically. Either they don't do 7. Frankly, I see a lot of people that just don't do 7. Because when you have to actually do a substantive program, it's more commitment, it's more work. So I see a lot of people getting through CSS and then, oh, substantive program, that's like too much work. They never proceed. So I don't really see a bottleneck here now, but I'm sort of anticipating that if we solve the 7 thing, it'll just be another bottleneck. Yeah, and I am outside of the scope of this stream, I am thinking about ways to potentially make this easier. For example, Latterly recently introduced a small group learning format. So you can go to the account tab, here's settings, and if you scroll down, interested in an expert-led small group. So this is still sort of experimental. It hasn't been proven out, but if it gets proven out, and there's an ongoing pilot with like 9 people in it, it's going extremely well. They're ahead of schedule. But still, that's a cohort of 1. So you could call it a sample size of 9 or a sample size of 1, depending on how you look at it. So it's still experimental, early days. But if that gets proven out, I think you can make that stage 7 a lot easier, this substantive web development thing. All right, so now that we have gone over the background, let's dive in and split up 9. This should be straightforward. So here I am, I'm on my local VS Code. I am in checklist.json. This is the seed file. And I don't like the way this is expanded, so I'm going to close all these and reopen it. I don't like that split pane view. So the one that I want to eliminate is I've used the rect tool. I have used the rect tool. So you can see it's just a string entry. And we want to use this newer object format, which allows embedded links. So 1, 2, 3. Did I add 3? So there's 1, that's the old one, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I added 3, right? I added 3. So here I have used the rect flashcard. So this will be its own item. I've used the rect tool for flashcard study, which is like a weird way to phrase that too. I have, and also like for how long? For at least half an hour. I think half an hour is fine. I have used the rect tool for flashcards. That's fine. I have used the rect tool. Let me grab this. This will be the link text for flashcard study. I think that's poorly worded, but I don't know a better thing to replace it with, so I'll leave it. And then we add this magic link, 123, LINK 123, and that will interpolate this text right here with the link. Okay? So now it will say, I have used the rect tool for flashcard study, and this bit will be the hyperlink. So it's bolder, you hover, and so forth. Let me get the rect tool link. Also, I think rect is kind of like obsolete, but that's out of the scope of this. So one step at a time. Is the link there? So GitHub, going to GitHub, going to the repositories, looking for RECT. Here's rect. By the way, if you're liking the video so far, throw a like on it. This is all open source. Again, here's the repository for rect. And here on the right, we can see the live link. So I'll grab this live link. Eventually, rect will be incorporated into Latterly itself instead of just linking out to it. But for now, we are linking out to it. Don't want to have any scope creep while we're doing this, right? One thing at a time. Okay, so I've used the rect tool for flashcard study for at least half an hour. Great. I have a portfolio that includes the big 4 projects. Okay, I just copied that. So the next bit is I have passed at least 1 quiz. So we're splitting these items, making them smaller, easier to do. I have passed, passed at least, we don't need to say the thing about half an hour. I have passed at least 1 quiz using the rect tool. And instead of rect tool, we can just call it rect. I have studied flashcards. I have studied flashcards for coding using rect. I've studied flashcards for coding using rect for at least half an hour. I think that's slightly better. And then over here, I have passed at least 1 quiz, 1 skill quiz using rect. Okay, I think that's slightly better. What do you think? Do I still have the rect tab open? Here it is, rect alpha, log n. Yeah, that database needs to spin up. Let me go over to Supabase and basically I need to spin back up the database. So here's rect, it's paused, right? So I can come over here and I can say restore. So that'll take a minute, but we don't need to wait. We'll come back here and check it out in a bit. All right, I've studied the flashcards. I have passed at least 1 skill quiz using rect. I want to go log in and confirm that there's even more than 1. There might just be 1. Okay, next is I created at least 1 GitHub issue or PR on the repo to improve it. This needs to be marked as optional. This is an optional task. I don't know. So in the Latterly portfolio, we definitely want you to be an open source contributor, 1, 2, 3. But you don't necessarily need to contribute to project A or B. I created a GitHub issue or PR on, yeah, this is where if this was a little more extensible, the candidate could list the PR that they created their issue on. It wouldn't have to be this one, right? So it would be better. I think I should create a GitHub issue for this. Yeah, let's make a GitHub issue in the backlog so that we're not getting sidetracked. Close all these extra tabs. Okay, we'll make a new issue over here. And this would be like checklist inputs. Consider the checklist item. It would be ideal if the checklist user can list the issue or PR links. So we would need to extend the checklist model to support that. What's the ideal time to complete? What's up, John? Definitely under a year. Definitely under a year. Let's take a look at it. Is under 6 months reasonable? I think the ideal time to complete would be on par with the typical boot camp. So this is not a boot camp, but it's sort of a boot camp alternative. And the typical timeline for a boot camp is 4 to 9 months, right? For a real boot camp, not like a YouTube course that calls itself a boot camp. So this could even take a bit longer. And the reason for that is you see here is substantive web development program. So all of the other checklist items are wrapping and including that. So let's say that you do this in 6 months, because that would be sort of like a typical boot camp. The other stuff, this includes the job search, right? So this is probably another month. Yeah, so I think this is like if your boot camp is 4 to 9 months, I think this would be, 6 to 12 months to do the whole thing. 6 to 12 months. Good call out. You know what? This, I should have like a typical time to complete. The problem is I don't have enough of a sample of people who have actually completed it. Maybe it's like a suggested time to complete. I don't know. Let me know if you think I should add that, or if you think that that would create like a negative feeling for some people. You know, some people are going to be slower. So would 6 to 12 months be a good idea or not? And some people could get it done faster in theory, I guess. Let me take a look at this. So we go to these. Let's say they pick this one. One of these two. One of these two would probably be the fastest possible. I mean, a college degree is going to be the slowest one, right? So let's say you go front end, that will be the faster way. But faster is not better. Faster is not better because the front end path is faster than the full stack path, because the full stack path is a superset. But the full stack path has better conversion to an actual job, right? So I can list the minimum time, and then the maximum time would be like, you get your college degree, which is going to take, a 4-year degree really takes like 5 years, right? Yeah, so if you're going that route, it could take up to 5 years. But over here, it says 115 hours. So if you're working on it like a full-time job, that would be 3 weeks, huh? So you could do this in 3 weeks, theoretically. Gotcha. How do I size it up to be most prepared rather than ready quickly? Awesome. I love it. This is a really good question, dude. I'm gonna blog the answer to this question, because the fact that I can't answer you in one line, the fact that I have to go through multiple sentences, means that it's not simple, right? So we should blog it. Blog time to complete standard checklist. Nuances. Speed run with Codecademy front end path. But that has lower job search efficacy. Slow run at 5 years with an augmented traditional degree. Really, it's going to be, I'll say 5.5 years. 5.5 years. I don't know. Slow run at 5.5 years. And then recommended pace would be I think 8 to 12 months. What recommended content there? Link this from the standard. Awesome, appreciate it. So here we are. Maybe Rect had enough time to spin back up. Let's take a look. So here we are. Still had an error. Couldn't find first. Couldn't reach server. Let's take another look. Oh, the database name might have changed. It said project is coming up. Okay, so it's still not done restoring yet. All right, that's fine. So we're splitting these up. I created a GitHub issue or PR on the repo to improve it. Really, I can get rid of this whole second sentence. I created a GitHub issue on the PR I created a GitHub issue or PR on the latterly.io repo. I created a GitHub issue or PR on the latterly.io repo to improve it. Great. And here, we need to fix the links. So there's rect, and here is latterly.io repo. Okay. Now, by the way, if you're liking the video, throw a like on it so YouTube can send it around the algorithm. We can teach more people to code. So I've attempted LinkedIn skill certs. This is the problem. These don't exist anymore. So what is the replacement? You need to mark on your LinkedIn you have to associate skills to items on your LinkedIn. I have associated HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Git, and other relevant web and other relevant software engineering skills with my LinkedIn profile. And then my LinkedIn profile, this can be our link. Hash, 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 LANK, hash, hash, hash. Okay, and what is it just linkedin.com? What would it be? Yeah, just linkedin.com. Then we'll split up this big 4 projects, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a vanilla HTML, I have a vanilla HTML blog in my portfolio as described in the big 4 projects. I have a vanilla HTML blog in my portfolio as described in the big 4 projects. And we'll repeat this phrase, as described in. So vanilla HTML blog, and then this is, I have a portfolio site. I have a portfolio site as described in the big 4 projects. I have a full stack, a vanilla HTML, and then a full stack React, let's say full stack Next.js blog in my portfolio as described in ... the big 4 projects. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. This is a capstone. I have a capstone, a full stack capstone project. Let's see, does it need to be full stack? I would really like it to, yeah, because I'd like to get the student to have 2 projects with a database. So we'll call it full stack. I have a full stack capstone project in my portfolio as described in the big 4 projects. All right, I think we have our changes in place. Let's stage this. We will seed the database in place. So here it is, npm run seed in place. Let's take a look, see what happens. Bam, error, foreign key constraint on field. Which one? I'm gonna go ahead and check in my checklist changes. And then we can fix them if needed. So this is better checklist items. Push that. I do think I missed a checklist change that I wanted to make. Let me look at my user story. So now we have the pull request up with the 1 file. I can close this, close this. We're gonna blog that later. That'll be a different PR. Checklist inputs, different PR. Massive AI for applying. Yeah, this one is what I was missing. So this will close 121. Is that right? Oh no, 112. Close 112, that's right. Close 141. And I think there's a third we're closing. Uh, 183. This is the roadmap. This is open source as well. Did those not get added? Okay, there they are. Oh, I think the fix here is just to run it again. It's idempotent. It looked like the thing was partially updated. We're at the 27-minute mark, y'all. We're going to wrap in the next 5, so make sure you follow the page. Throw a like on the video if you found this interesting. All right, look, it looks like the seed is proceeding clean now. I do have a run book in here, so laterally run book, fuzzy typing, you see it's under docs, and then you can see updating a production checklist in place. The script is idempotent. If you run into an issue, in many cases, you can just run the script again to resolve. I think that's what we see in this case. So let me come over here and I'm refreshing the page. I didn't even really need to, but I went ahead and refreshed the page. And now I'm going to see the big 4 projects: HTML blog, portfolio site, full stack Next.js blog, full stack capstone project. Great. Studied flashcards, click that, pops open rect. Cool. Now we're going to want to be able to log in. So let's see if the database is back up now. That's still not working. All right, well, that's a separate issue from changing the checklist itself. Is it still, where's Supabase? Is it still loading or does it think it's loaded now? It's coming up. Okay, I guess it's expected. I guess it just, how long does it take for the database to come back up? 1, 2, 3. Cool, rect tool, studied flashcards, and created a GitHub issue. And this pops over to the repository correctly. That works, great. I'm an open source contributor, woohoo. Associated HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Git, and other relevant software engineering skills with my LinkedIn profile. It's gonna open up our LinkedIn profile, looks good. I've volunteered with a laterally endorsed, okay, this needs a link, Endorsed. Oh, it looks like the same, one was supposed to replace the other, but I have both. I've participated in laterally endorsed community as recommended. I've volunteered with a laterally endorsed community and listed the volunteer experience on my LinkedIn page. Oh, okay, these are slightly different. This one's optional though. This one's optional though. Oh, and I have the is required field, but I guess I'm not rendering with it. Is required. So participating is required, volunteering is optional. Great, okay, so it's marked correctly. I'm just not rendering is required. Let's do that too. That's low-hanging fruit, isn't it? Just to make use of that is required field to drop an asterisk. That's so low-hanging fruit, so let's get it done. npm run dev, kick up my local server. Command P, my basic checklist, TSX, here we are. And here, it's back to home. Here's the query handler, great, whatever. Click the green button. Here it is, the item list. So here is the actual thing. It's an ordered list, right? And it's got all of these check boxes with the content over here. So here's the React fragment. Yeah, if it's a string, it just returns the string, and if it's an object, it does this whole bit. So we are concerned with the object case. Here's the link text. And what we want to do, so here's part. Oh, link is going at the end there, huh? Is link always at the end? I guess I never thought about that. There's no way. Right. Okay, so we split it. Before any of that split, I think before any of that split, we want the asterisk after the input before any of that split. So if it's required, then, by the way, is required coming as a string or Boolean? It's coming as a Boolean. So if it's required, then we just want an asterisk. Otherwise, no. Let's go to my local host. Loading the dev server, so that'll take, I don't know, 10 seconds. So let's hang out. You can watch the command line to see it loading. What's up?
Instead of keep watching TV, can I open one of my Valentine's Day prizes instead of keep watching TV?
Nope.
Maybe next time?
Yep.
Today is another day. Today is another day.
It is another day. TV area or play area, please.
Oh, so Mom can think about it. Mom gets to say if I can have the Valentine's Day prizes.
I didn't say anything about Mom. I said you can't have it right now.
That's what I was saying. Mom can think about it because you know how...
Go to the TV area or the play area, please.
What area?
All right, so now we got these asterisks. It's showing up in a bunch. Okay, so let's read through these if they're actually required. This is actually required, yes. Required. Yup. I have a vanilla, okay, we want these. This one, is that really required? I don't know. I'll make these optional. We can require them later if needed. Can't really require it right now at this minute if the database isn't coming up. So there's that. So maybe we'll make them required after it's onboarded into Latterly itself. Created a GitHub issue. So this will be, let's see. I'll make all 3 of these optional. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Git. That's going to be required. Required, optional. And this is the part where we have to start asking, look, if they got the job, how much did these other things matter? So these can be optional. This one is the key right here. If you're having like either get a call or get help. And then this one seems silly to require because the whole point of the checklist is to help you get a job, so that if you can mint a certification, that will go on your resume potentially and help you get a job. So it doesn't make sense to require getting the job itself, because it's supposed to be a tool to help you get the job. Does that make sense? So we want to unrequire that. Okay. All right, so let's go through and fix up the required. So 26 will be optional, 25 is required, 24 is optional. Why is this optional? The reason that I'm thinking of is technically, if you have like 1 or 2 interviews and you get a job offer, you don't need to you can just accept that job offer, right? Maybe my line of thought there is stupid, but that's my line of thought. Because again, like requiring this seems to be like we're technically, if we technically require it, it seems to say we're actually disallowing that you accept the first one, which is not what I want to do. You should be open to accepting the first one. And this I want to rephrase. Because technically you do get at least 1 phone screening, right? I think it just needs to be reworded. So this one, okay, I'm continually applying to 70 plus places each week. Oh, whoa, was my internet cutting out? That's a bummer. Oh, these are, I did a full-time role. Yeah, why are they sort of like required by default? That's really strange. So if it's a pure string, it's requiring it. Maybe, let me check my schema. Am I requiring it by default? Maybe that's what I did. Yeah, I required it by default. That's what's going on. Okay. I've landed a full-time role involving coding. This will be required false. So what does this say? This says, after continuing the job search process for 2+ weeks, after continuing the job search process for 2+ weeks, I have gotten at least one phone screening, or I have reached out to a mentor to help investigate the lack of phone screening progress. Okay, so how do we rephrase this? Instead, I want to say, basically like you're doing a check-in each 2 weeks. Like if you're not making progress, you're getting help. That's the question here. And so what would the checkbox be here? This is such a weird edge case because technically this means that no one can get a job in under 2 weeks, which is almost definitely the case, but it's not definitely the case. Like there will be like less than 1% of people who can get a job within 2 weeks of finishing the other steps. Every 2 weeks, I am getting one or more responses from employers, or I have reached out to a mentor to investigate the lack of phone screening progress. Okay, this is not just a response. Every 2 weeks, I am getting one or more phone screen or initial interview requests from employers. Every 2 weeks, I'm getting one or more phone screen or initial interview requests from employers. If I don't, I will So how are we using this checklist? Is this like, yeah, I think I'm looking at this checklist two ways. One is as the student and one is as the auditor, which maybe those should be different things. Because here, if you book a call with me or a mentor and we're going through like, okay, what could go wrong, A, B, C, and going through a checklist in that regard, here I expect I have already reached out. I have already reached out. But that's different than if you're going through the checklist at like, as a student, you're going through it and say, I will reach out. That's fine. Landing a full-time role is not required. What else did we say? Social networking, this is all required. Confident in HTML and CSS, completed a substantive program. The 4 projects. Oh, we said we're gonna make Rect is not required right now. Okay. GitHub issue. We'll make that not required. Updated my LinkedIn, participated in endorsed communities, volunteered is not required. Optimized LinkedIn is required. Applying to a bunch of places is required. Let me fix the networking scripts there. Following the 5 to 23 patterns article for at least 2 weeks is not required because it's a weird edge case, but technically you could have a job in under 2 weeks. I read the Mastering Leak Code article. You can at least read it, even if you're not following it for 2 weeks. We can require that. Every 2 weeks, I'm getting one or more phone screen. If not, I will reach out for assistance. Okay. Say that's required. I have had a few interviews. Okay, this is one that's not required because you might not actually need to have a few interviews, even though most people will. And then that will be the last, I think, change. And maybe this one we just need to rephrase it instead of making it not required. Let me read through it one more time. I have had a few interviews, obtained feedback, and incorporated that feedback to improve my job search going forward. Yeah, this, I would require it if instead of I have had, it's like after a few interviews, I will. If we can rephrase it to be conditional, it sounds required at that point. Because here's what you don't want to do. I've had a bunch of interviews, but I haven't changed anything. Right? Like that's bad. I've had a few interviews. So let's do this. Every 2 weeks, every 3 interviews, not even every 3 interviews, after every interview, I have had at least 1 interview. After every interview, This is the slowest way to select, isn't it? I have had at least one interview. After every interview, I have sought, and you might not actually get it. That's why I don't want to say it's required to obtain it, but it is required to seek it. I've sought feedback, reflected, and incorporated at least one change to improve my job search going forward. If you put that practice into place, you really cannot fail. It's just a matter of time until you win. So that is required now that we've rephrased it. I have had at least one interview, and it's required to do that because you're not going to get a job if you haven't even had one interview. I've had at least one interview. After every interview, I have sought feedback, reflected, and incorporated at least one change to improve my job search going forward. Okay. I commit to reach out for help whenever needed in the Latterly community, endorsed communities, and through independent outreach using social media and my personal social network. Maybe I'll say or instead of and. I feel like that's splitting hairs, but whatever. So the commitment is required, and then at this point you don't need to have this one done. So you can get certified up to N-1, and then that'll help you get this one. But all this other stuff I think is required. And then that would make this fair game for quizzes. Make this fair game for a quiz because it's required. Volunteered with a Latterly endorsed community. Volunteering is not required, but it's recommended. Great. I think it looks good. All right, let's try it. Let me go look at localhost. So here we are in localhost. Let's refresh it. And the data is still, that's just because the data needs to change. All right. So here I'm going to incorporate the feature asterisk for required fields. And also here, dang, I lost it, sorry. Let me unstage this, I'll do these secondly. Let's update these in place. Probably gonna have to run it twice. Also, I want some text. User checklist query handler. I want some text that says what the asterisk is for. All right, we'll be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes. Thanks for being here. Here is suspense, here's the handler. User checklist item, where is this? Yeah, this is just the list. So maybe like a paragraph right here. Don't require having a job for cert is the checklist change there. So it's no longer required. Great. I kind of want a space character. Whatever, I guess it's fine. Programming job checklist. So this will be the name. Where's the name located? Name. Current checklist name. Okay, so this is where I can put the asterisk. Items with an asterisk are required for certification. Let's do some margin on this. Items with an asterisk are required for certification. Do MT2, MB4. Make it a little asymmetric so that it kind of associates with the heading there. I think that looks good. Items with an asterisk are required for certification. Great. So the feature here is add an asterisk to required fields. All right, y'all, and that does it for today's stream. As soon as the build passes, I will ship this to production. So you can go to ladderly.io now, and definitely expect it to be there by the end of the day, probably within a couple hours. I mean, probably within 45 minutes, but that's hard to commit to because if there's a build issue, I'll fix that offline. But yeah, you can sign up ladderly.io. And you can join for free and then pay what you can and unlock additional features starting at $1 a month. But the checklist we just worked on is totally free. And hope to see you in the Discord community as well. Thanks for being here. Talk to you later.